happening right about now.
I've been dying to catch up with you like you have no idea. Jon Stoll, Executive Vice President, Global Touring, Icon Live. Come on, man. This is going to be some serious gems. And, you know, we're going to talk about the real business of touring, arenas, artist growth, promoters, comedy, nostalgia. I know you guys are big into comedy. I also want to talk about the evolution of the AI artist and what it takes to sell tickets in today's live entertainment. We got my man, Jon Stoll, in the house, Executive Vice President of Global Touring at Icon Live. Jesse, man, you've been around. You've worked inside Sony, BMG, AEG Southeast, Concerts West, and now Icon Live. You've been connected to major tours and live entertainment projects involving Sabrina Carpenter, Hans Zimmer, if I'm saying it right, Theo, Martin Lawrence. Come on, man. That's like one of my number one go-to comedians. You understand what separates a local act from a club act from a theater act, and so on, right? And we want to talk a little bit about touring, talent buying, Live Nation, you know, how your model is different from that. I see you guys are big into the comedy. I don't see any DJs on your roster, so I want to talk a little bit about what's up with that, man. And we'll get into all that. But first and foremost, welcome, man. You're a friend, a longtime friend, and it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. Yeah, really proud to be here.
Yeah, now your father, Jon Stoll, was a legendary independent promoter. What did you learn from him, you know, that no school or label or corporation could ever teach you?
Yeah. So, my dad was one of the last standing independents, Fantastic Productions. He owned that and started it in the early 70s. Look, I just had a childhood probably quite different from most kids going to concerts, catching every show that I could. I wanted to see the magic. I at first young age, early teen years, that magic of seeing a show come together from, you know, load in to load out, and what happens, you know, behind the scenes and backstage with, you know, what might seem mundane to the normal person, you know, but everything from catering to tech production to settlement. Just seeing my dad and his team work was magic in my eyes. And I knew at a young age, this was something I attached myself to. Just learning behind him and really learning behind him as an independent, because it's his money. So I was fortunate enough to see, you know, an entrepreneur firsthand, as anybody would grow up behind a family member who's, whether it's a father, mother, close family member, as an entrepreneur. When you're risking your own money like that, you know,
I'm sure all the shows were in a home run, right? So, like, how did he react when it was a low? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
when it didn't hit the number.
Money. It was him. Yeah. It is part of his fabric. I mean, you know, when you lose your own money, especially when it's the kind of money you can lose on a show, which can, by the way, take an independent, you know, a show of a large caliber can put you out of business. The risk is high in this industry. It's just like the movie production business. You know, for an independent who's not a Live Nation at the time, Live Nation back in the, you know, the 80s, which became today, was, you know, the Genesis, the original companies were the Celladors and the SFXs, you know, they could sustain these losses. But, you know, my dad has a couple big losses over a season. That can mean potentially being put out of business. So, you know, trust me, you felt it. And so grinding for every dollar, picking the smart vendors for sound, lighting, and and video and catering and stagehands and you know, seeing where you can not cut corners, but be you know, be smart and be efficient. A lot of times, again, those are things that get looked over from a larger promoter. But you know, this is why even today, me working an independent promoter, which we can get into later on, but me, you know, that's my roots. It's hard for me to go anywhere else and not know how to fight for every dollar, because I saw it firsthand from my father. For both us and the artist side, and fighting to make as much money as possible and save as much money as possible. It's just part of the fabric. So you know, that was an invaluable experience growing up.
Talk about going to school, you know what I'm saying? And like the ultimate boot camp for promoters. That's what you had. So that was pretty cool. You were fortunate in that aspect. Now, what did Sony BMG teach you about the business?
Yeah, so I worked there during college. I was a marketing representative behind a lot of projects that started in the college marketing department. So artists like The Fray, Modest Yahoo, Flyleaf. These were priority projects that the label felt like they could incubate and sizzle in the college department. So I handled the Miami territory, really Florida for Sony, and it was really, really a great experience to see the other side of the business. Live and label are so should be more interconnected as you would think, but they aren't. Everything starts with the music, of course, and the talent, and identifying who the priority projects are for a label, and getting that initial punch to be able to be on the ground floor for artists that are putting out new material, and learning how to organically grassroots market at shows, record stores, being on the streets and being the voice in your market with street teams, and even having a play in college radio and college press. You're kind of the boots on the ground early on, creating that story in a community, because the colleges are like glue. You get in with the college audience, and they spread your word like wildfire. Yeah. And so Sony found that early on. That's why they really grew this and developed this college marketing department, which is important and vital for you're seeing, over the years, countless acts have came out of that machine. Have become success stories because of the college marketing.
Yeah. Would you say, I don't know, to me, Florida is like a different animal when it comes to concert goers. I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we're late bloomers when it comes to buying tickets. Like, we wait till literally the last minute to buy tickets, or maybe it's just the Latinos that wait till the last minute. But I've heard stories with promoters that they're like, my God, bro, I only sold 500 tickets. And I'm like, I'm in the red like there's no tomorrow. And then later on, I talked to them, how did it do? They were like, bro, you can't imagine how many walk-ups I had. So what kind of experience do you have with that?
Yeah, growing up in Florida, being a promoter first and foremost, my dad being a promoter in Florida and learning behind him, that was my primary territory to focus on when I eventually joined AEG in 2008 as a buyer. But I already had, like you said, just learning the market and knowing the market through my father, the lens of Florida is a unique animal. I think every state's unique in buying behaviors. I think Florida, personally, I've always tried to put, I talked about it in endless meetings. Why is this not working in Florida, but works pretty much across the country? Why are artists not wanting towards Florida? I think with Florida, the culture is very transient. There's a large, obviously, as we know, there's a large travel audience that comes down during season. So the snowbirds are coming in, and so you're getting that concentration of people between November and really April, May. So out of that season, it can be tricky. The weather is incredibly unpredictable. Yep. So outdoor shows, even indoor shows, it can change a weekend like that. But I also think culturally, there's a lot of things. Look, I always encourage you want to see more artists coming to your town, go to shows, go to live music. The culture's a lot focused on, the beach, nightlife, hospitality. That's Florida culture at its core. That's, people move to Florida for boating and for that. So I say, like, why are they always giving Florida? Go and support local music. Go out and go to your local shows. Buy tickets early on to show there's demand. You're right. I think what happens is Florida sometimes live music can become an afterthought. So you're at that last minute, you're thinking, okay, let me go to a show this weekend instead of making it a priority. And so I think it's just that it's on the contrary, dance music has become giant in the last 20, 30 years in Miami. But that was a moral that was a cultural fabric of the city of Miami, of how it was built. So
the Winter Music Conference helped that out a lot. Ultra, obviously, the biggest dance festival worldwide, not only in South Florida. So all that contributed not only to bringing more DJs to the forefront, more producers, but the culture within itself got bigger. And now you have, giants like the Calvin Harrises of the world, the David Guettas, the Bob Sinclairs, and all those guys, you know, from A-list to B-list. I mean, you know, those guys are real active. And if you want to get in that game, hey, have your shit together, because it's not easy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Listen, most venues do not have a location problem. They have an entertainment problem. The night feels slow. The music misses the crowd. The lighting feels way flat. The promotion is weak. The room has no clear identity. That's where Sama Entertainment Consulting comes in. I'm Felix Sama. We help nightclubs, lounges, restaurants, and venues turn slow nights into signature nights. We study the room. We identify the right audience. We build stronger theme nights. We bring in the right DJs, live bands, hosts, and entertainment. We improve the sound, lighting, visuals, music programming, marketing, promotions, and customer experience, because a great night is not one thing. It is the right mix of energy, strategy, talent, production, and promotion. When the room feels alive, people stay longer. They spend more. They come back, and they bring their friends. Sama Entertainment Consulting gives your venue a real entertainment strategy, not guesswork. If your venue has slow nights, empty dance floors, weak themes, or no reason for people to return, let's fix it. Book a venue strategy call today. Sama Entertainment Consulting. Let's pack your place.
You know, so give me one crazy early story where you said, wow, this, you know what, this whole concert thing is just not normal. It's going to take a unique promoter to really get this right.
Well, one of my clients, Martin Lawrence, you mentioned him early on, today's family, but growing into that relationship, I had a pretty serious story that brought things to life pretty quickly. I had a show in Raleigh with him, and we were loading in. It was one of the first shows that I ever produced at AEG. I really made a play to bring him back. He hadn't toured in a minute. And I did a few dates in Florida, and I did a show in Raleigh. And heading up there, I arrive. Everything was set on stage, to my knowledge, correctly. And then they come and they show up, and there was an element, not to get too deep into it, but there was an element that was missing from the show. And it was, to me, something I overlooked or misunderstood, and felt like it was fixable or wasn't necessary. But to him, it was very important. And to the point where if it wasn't there, his team basically said, look, we're leaving. We're going to go back to the hotel. We'll be back at showtime. But if this is not here, this will be your last show with Martin. And I remember it was Father's Day and everything. And so they left, and I'm sweating. I've got like 3-4 hours to figure this out. And I'm calling every production vendor in town, and it's a Sunday and it's a holiday and no one's answering. I'm even calling commercial places like Party City to figure out what I can cobble together at the 11th hour here. And I'm calling friends. I'm calling local tech offices, everything I can pull together. Finally, I get a hold of somebody, and the guy answers, and he said, yeah, I got what you need, but it's a Sunday and I'm with my family, and for me to drive, and he was in Virginia.
It's gonna cost you,
he said, for me to drive, I got to leave now. I'm with my family, and it's Father's Day. It's going to cost you. And he put out this crazy price, and I was like, I don't have a choice. Go ahead.
What it is.
That's the wheels on the road. He rolls on the way. These guys call me.
Now you got me thinking, what the hell was it, bro? Was it a stripper? What was it?
No, I can't. It's something. It's not even that sexy. It's a production element, but you know, it was something you don't find easily on the tech side.
Obviously,
easily accessible. I got a call, and they're on their way, the artist team, and they're like, "Did you get it?" And I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, great." And they were excited, but it hadn't arrived yet. So I'm sweating, and as I know they're about to show up, I see this truck barreling down the loading dock fast, pulling in fast, rolling right up. Guy brings it all in. They're rolling up almost at the same time. So I put him going the other way, so they didn't see it firsthand. It wasn't going to take long to set up. He walks over to me, the manager, and he says, "So let me see him." And he said, they're still setting up. He's like, "Okay, all right, you got them." And then I go over, and it's not working. He's trying to tech it. He's like, it needs a minute to heat up. And I was like, come on. And then he presses it, and it works. And the manager comes over. He's like, "Let me see it." And he presses it, works. And he goes, I just want to let you know you single-handedly just saved Martin Lawrence's relationship with your company. And
that's serious.
That was like one of my first, and I hadn't really gotten to know the artist yet and his team. So that was like, but that was the icebreaker.
The
show would have been fine without it. Those little details, not to get into what it was, little show details that even the audience wouldn't recognize are important to the artist. And a lot of promoters at that point wouldn't look, hey, I wasn't able to get it. And I'm not spending, this crazy amount of money on a show just because, like, we'll get through it. No, like, it mattered to him, and therefore it mattered to me. And I did everything I could and took hours of my time and went through every last contact to figure out how to make it happen. And that's what we do.
You saved the show, you saved the relationship.
And now I do is, now we work together and we're family. So it's just, I think people, those kind of things. Yeah, it goes a long way.
It goes a long way. So let's clear up this whole changing of the guards. You came from Concert West and AEG, then moved into Icon Concerts and LiveCo, and now Icon Live has formed. What exactly changed, and why was this the right move?
I was at AEG for close to 20 years. They were family. It was time for me to look outside and see where I can grow, more as an individual and more as in an entrepreneurial, back to my roots of an independent kind of space. And this company, one of the larger, if not one of the largest in the country, independent promoters, caught my eye. Friends of mine who own Icon for years, Paul Maloche, it's a good friend who owns Icon. And, it afforded me not only the opportunity to grow more in comedy in the non-traditional space, which I saw a real opportunity for as another player to grow their portfolio, but again, just brings me back to my roots and gives me that runway to really hit it as I mentioned, as an independent. So Icon has handled for many years Gabriel Iglesias, Joe Coy, Jimmy O Yang, and recently Icon merged with our sister company Magic Space. And Magic Space handles a lot of theatrical business. You're seeing here in Mannheim Steamroller, a lot of Cirque shows. So, company focuses largely in the non-traditional and comedy and theater space. But my priority, since I've arrived about 2.5, 3 months ago now, is to grow into other genres, on bringing in music and also expanding worldwide. Even though largely the company's been focused on North America historically, no reason why, with the right partners that I've had over the years with my experience at AEG, expand the footprint worldwide and globally. So,
So I know you got Gary Owen on there, and he's a pretty funny dude, and he's got quite a few shows. I think he's got over 30 shows booked for the rest of the year. So you keeping this guy busy.
And he's growing fast. Yeah, I don't personally book Gary at the company, but he's a firecracker, man. He's grown exponentially.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's funny. He's got some pretty good jokes. Yeah, not too bad. Somebody else that I saw on there, he's a real controversial comedian. This Ben Bankus guy.
Oh yeah.
He had me cracking up with some of the stuff he was saying. I was like, bro, you're really pushing the line there, big dog.
Yeah.
And absolutely. Then I checked out what's this guy's name? Denny Love. Denny Love is a pretty funny guy.
He's the same space as Kevin Lang, that whole group, which is just growing, crushing on the podcast space. So.
Yeah. So when a company says end-to-end touring platform, what does that mean in real terms for an artist, manager, or agent?
Yeah. So a real promoter, a true promoter at its core should know how to do everything from start to finish. Meaning, we don't just buy a tour and, come to us, and when you arrive, we market and ticket, and then, you land on day, on the show day, and we're there. We can actually, and we have for many of our clients, produce it. So a lot of times an artist will come to us without any real, other than creative direction of what they think their show should look like. They don't know what it will cost. They don't have vendors. They don't have a real feel of modeling it out. So that's what we're here to do and help with an artist who, might, again, have an idea of what the show would look like and how the show would run. Yeah. But we can help every step of the way in helping them write it and helping them creatively, come up with concepts.
So more like a think tank.
helping curate and financially model it out. Again, you can have an idea for a tour, but especially for artists and theater acts, and there's an artist that I'm working with right now that has never toured before, but has an idea what the show would look like, but has no idea what it would cost, how many trucks am I taking out, how do we travel, all the above, right? Helping, stage it and rehearsals and all those things. If you don't have the right experienced producer behind you from the jump, you can hire somebody, but those, not knowing who the right players are and having someone in your corner like a promoter / producer, those costs can get out of hand. And then all of a sudden an artist goes on the road and they find out they're not making any money. So, just having the ability to produce and helping an artist from stage one all the way through is, a partnership that we've been able to.
And who would qualify for something like that? When do you know that an artist is ready to even be in a so-called boot camp like that?
Bring something new to the freaking table. You know what I mean? Like, really do your homework. Figure out what's going to separate you from the rest of the DJs that are out there. Find your niche, you know what I'm saying? And hone in on that. Do your homework, practice. You got to bring something new to the table. If you're just going to wait for the break part of a song and mix out of it, that shit ain't going to get you to the next level. I'm sorry, but it's not. You got to be unique. Produce your own music. Do your own mashups. You know what I mean? Find something original that you bring, even if it's from other songs and elements that already exist, but put your spin on it. You know what I mean? Find something that you can do that's going to separate you from the herd. That's the advice I would give to DJs that are on the come up right now. It doesn't matter if you're from Seattle or India. You know what I mean? If you're doing something different and people are gravitating to you on social media, then that means that promoters are going to notice you as well. And that means that you're probably going to get a phone call at some point in time, or you need to do your research and push your performances to these promoters and tell them, look, this is what I'm doing. I think it'll work at your venue. You got to sell yourself, bro.
Well, this is for obviously artists who can sell real tickets, when you're able to link up on a deal where we can produce and promote with you, it's usually because an artist has enough chops to sell the tickets. It can either be an act but look, there's artists that have tons of experience that just want an Icon, our expertise on selecting the proper vendors. Hey, we've never really found a great person for the look on stage for, lighting and video, and I'll help, guide them to the right production company, link them together, bring in the production managers to cohesively run the show behind the scenes. So, it doesn't always have to be somebody who's never toured before and needs creative direction. Look, a lot of the big musicians today, the arena acts and stadium acts have a lot of times the same production team behind them and vendors for many, many years. And so it's probably more prevalent in comedy, because a lot of times you're seeing these comedians come out of the comedy club so fast in this day and age. Comedy is more accessible, as we all know, on your phone and streaming through the platforms, Netflix, Hulu, all those things. Comedians are jumping fast from improvs in the club space to theaters to arenas, in a matter of, months, years. It used to take, 4, 5, 6 years to get those stages. Now you're seeing an act selling out clubs, being ready for theaters, which can be dangerous for their craft because they may not be ready for a theater or an arena audience. It's a totally different space, but they fine tune it, they craft it. But that's where we can come in and help guide them to help make them make the look of their stage show look good.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that comedy is one of the strongest growth lanes in live entertainment right now.
Yeah, people want to laugh, especially coming out of COVID. We saw this big renaissance period. It's the first thing people jump to. Podcasts, which are a medium that comedians often find themselves getting discovered by, and that's what a lot of comics and talent today will attach to. One of the largest mediums, and that was obviously one of the most prevalent things during COVID. Coming out of COVID, even today, it's like even the hybrid workplace, people are connected on their phones. They're listening to podcasts while they're working out, while they're on their way to work, going home from work. So, they're tuning into these comedians have had this direct medium to their audiences through these different, through socials, but again through podcasts and being able to connect in a way they never have before.
Yeah, I started my podcast show during COVID as well. So speaking about COVID, would you say statistically, and you know the analytics and whatnot, you got the numbers, would you say more people went to concerts before pre-COVID or after COVID? Which percentage of concert goers was more maximum? Definitely
after. Everybody craved to be outside and getting out and about, you know, when they started appreciating being out and touching each other again. But I'll tell you, man, pre-COVID, we had some of the strongest years ever. 18 was one of the best years of my career. 19 was even better. I was hitting the stride, and then 20 was going to be my best. We were seeing, and a lot of this is obviously driven by the economy, you know, and when things are healthy, people can spend money on non-necessities. So, you know, that's just the driver of the economy is going to drive how we see the health of entertainment, you know, and your disposable income and where you spend it. And typically, gratefully, live entertainment's one of the major centers of where people spend their money disposably in this country. So, and worldwide. So, you know, I think, look, we were the first to get knocked down during COVID. It's the first thing that people don't need to do. When you're seeing other companies thrive, obviously, like, you know, the necessity world, paper towels and consumables and things like that. People can't leave their homes, but we were also one of the strongest to rebound. And, you know, I had no doubt in my mind, you know, a lot of people were like, what's going to happen? Venues that could hold out, which many obviously went out of business. A lot of independent promoters went out of business. But I had no doubt in my mind, if you could hold out, there was this question of, will it ever come back? And in what capacity? Which, you know, we all, if you were patient, you knew the world was going to become stable again. And that boom that you saw, just people craving to have that live experience, you know, again, was just, you know.
Yeah, I know. It started with, you know, getting pay-per-view gigs. I know I did a gig up in Long Island with Mr. Cheeks, Naughty by Nature, rest in peace, Coolio. And it was a pay-per-view. 2 Live Crew was there. And we were like, everybody was like, man, as long as we working, man, we happy. But those were that was right in the middle of COVID. I think it was like maybe in October or something like that. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I got to get a second hustle going on. I think I got my life and annuities license too. And I was hustling insurance on the side. So you get creative, man. You do what you got to do in order to you know, fill the void and bring in, you know, and pay the bills and whatnot. But I really, this podcast is about the business of music, right? So I want to give real game to artists watching. What does an artist need before a serious promoter says this act is ready for a proper tour?
It's always, I come from the early days of obviously following, you know, an independent like my father and seeing artists, even though he, you know, promoted largely national acts, he was behind a lot of local talent in Florida for many years. A lot of the you know, he attached himself to local acts that were grinding and gave them up platforms and opportunities to open for shows that he had, and he always wanted to support the local market. So look, for me, I'm a big believer in that early hustle. Yes, in today's day and age, you know, they, as we even touched on earlier, you can release a song now and self-release it with no label support and hit it. And a song can go, you know, viral for many, many different reasons with, you know, the levers with content space and, you know, and just being visible on the social game. But for me, again, I'm all about pulling the levers on the hustle game of, you know, live, performing live is always going to be the way that people are going to see, they're going to digest and become a fan, is your live performance ability. So if you can't perform live, you don't want to be out on the road, you don't want to be out there, and you haven't figured out, you know, getting a few friends together to support you on the, you know, just to get behind you, even if it's a couple shows a month, you know, 5, 6, 7 shows a year, getting out there in some live capacity is invaluable. As I mentioned before, the content game today, kind of the old school way of just getting music in people's hands. When I was coming up, I managed bands. I didn't care about, yes, of course, selling and making money on merch was an important piece. But even if I could sell a few t-shirts at the shows of my artists and sell a few CDs to help break even on the night, the priority was getting the music in everybody's hands. So, the idea of, in today's day and age, you have this opportunity just to flood the gates strategically, but get as much. You need to be releasing music on a consistent basis, because all it takes is one song to hit. You can have the real true musicians and producers are releasing, not, I got 10 new songs for the year. No, I mean, they're throwing so much against the wall and finding the metric with the social game. And it's all about slicing that content and feeding the social space. Today, everybody's so on their phone 24/7, and it's crowded, it's competitive. You're vying for people's, eyes and ears, trying to weed through all the other stuff. And then there's a million things coming at you, sports, food, travel. And so you've got to be creative if you're an up and coming act trying to gain, it's not about just running sponsor ads. And, some of these local acts nowadays are trying to run ads. And I'm like, you're running ads to feed people to your page. They don't even know who you are. They're not going to be engaged. So, those two things, constantly putting out music, constantly putting out content, the live game, again, being out there, and just being visible, are the pillars of discovery.
Feel the beat at the ultimate dance and freestyle experience. Friday, August 28th at the legendary Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Performing live dance and freestyle icons Jody Watley, Samantha Fox, Expulse, Trinier, DT, 69 Boys, Live, Susie Carr, Sapphire, Voice Infection, No Mercy, Turbo B of Snap, Janice Robinson, Noel, Tony Moran, hosted by DJ Felix Sama. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster. The ultimate dance and freestyle experience. Friday, August 28th at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hollywood, Florida. For more information, go to dancenowamerica.com.
Yeah.
And it's not about buying a label, again, you don't, sure, a label puts cash behind you. It's a bank. But again, as I mentioned to you now, it's really about visibility and being good at your craft, just putting out content, linking up, also community. I was a big proponent of always making sure my band was connecting with every other local band out there in the marketplace. When they toured in Orlando, and we toured outside of Florida, I mean, we dipped into Atlanta, and when we went to places that, even if we had a gig and we flew out to like LA for an opening gig to open for an artist, I'm like, become friends with every act in that town. You want to absorb that community. They're going to introduce you to their fans. Likewise, when they come to Florida and they're coming to South Florida where you're based, you're going to introduce them to your fans. And it just built their network of musicianship, but also, again, crossbreeding fan bases. So those are the days, at least early on when I was managing bands, that you didn't have the luxury of the socials now and content. Now it's like I said, it's you're able to touch everybody, but it's such an important thing that, of being the content game is as much as it's work. And engagement is the number one. When the artists that make it, the number one reason I see the artists that make it, and it's not a tangible term, but it's engagement. It's not something you can say, okay, how, so then people say, well, how do you build engagement? Engagement is, look, a lot of it's luck, obviously, right time, right place, hate to say it, but you can also you could pull all these levers to maximize your chances to have that that chance, and these are the best possibility.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's about creating that ecosystem. And this is what podcasters do, right? Podcasters, they jump on each other's podcasts to grow their fan base. YouTubers do it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way we coexist together and build a bigger fan base. And not only that, capturing emails, and creating your own email list so that you can be direct to consumer with your fans is important as well, because now you got a chance to sell VIP bundles and all kinds of, listening, Zooms, and all kinds of stuff that you can do. You can get real creative with that. And it's going to be more appealing for a promoter to be like, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. He's performing live on his socials. He's got this VIP merch thing going on, and he's really connected to the community. I mean, that's half the battle right there. You're really creating an ecosystem for yourself and the people that you're doing, business with. So that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, and look, fans nowadays want authenticity. They want to feel like they can touch you. So they want to, the artists that are succeeding, again, there's no secret formula. It's not, you can't just cook it up and make it happen with the snap of your fingers. But, the way you gain engagement and the way you gain fans and the way you make it and hit that magic, that space is by making sure your music and your touch points are authentic and that you're constantly connecting with the fan base. People want to consistently have a peep into your personal life. Again, they want to nowadays it's all on your phone. So if you stop feeding the content, you stop feeding the train, you stop putting out music, you have that lull, you're not letting people into who you are, they can't connect with you, they're moving on. There's just so much being fed to you. And they want to be able to connect. Fans want to be able to connect to their favorite artist and want to be able to again, buy t-shirts, hear the new song, learn about what you're doing on a daily life. So the content game is right up there with being number one. And then again, being out there and touching them,
Yeah. So how does an artist move from 300 cap rooms to 1,500 cap theaters? Without skipping steps and going down the wrong path?
Yeah, I mean, it's I mentioned it's the touring game. It's ramping that up, being out there. You can do it. Again, it hasn't changed since it was 20 years ago. It's you're not making money doing it early on. You're doing it for eyeballs. You're doing it for content. You're doing it for that break, getting noticed. There's a million opportunities to be out there, not just at a local bar or a local live music venue and playing in front of 20 people. Farmers markets, community food festivals, music festivals. There's food. There's events that you can apply to. You should be applying to everything. And within the scope of how far you can travel. So if you live in South Florida and you can hop in that car with you and your 3 or 4 friends that are going to be in your band and support you, or that are a part of your band, and drive to Jacksonville. You should be applying to every community festival up there in Jacksonville. That makes sense, of course, for your band, and it can match up with you. I'm a big proponent, man. Yeah, I mean, if you could play in front of, if there's a 4th of July community music event in Jacksonville, and you can be playing in front of 5,000 people, and even if they pay you your gas money, get up there, go. You can't oversaturate yourself when you haven't made it,
Yeah, gotta put into work.
Look, I have friends of mine that are tons of friends of mine that are working musicians. And I'll get on them about that kind of stuff. I'm like, it's more important for you to hang with your friends on the 4th of July and go to a barbecue. But if you had that opportunity, you need to be up there. If you want to make it, you got to live it. It's not just as the bit, it's a part of your moral fabric. And I think that goes for pretty much anything in the entertainment side of things, whether you're trying to be an actor, a comedian, a musician. You got to seize every opportunity and always have that in mind first. Unfortunately, you have to be unselfish with everything else in your life. This needs to come first. If you have an opportunity, you need to line those up and knock them down.
For the NDs, break down the different ways a show deal gets structured.
So for what we do, it starts with usually my side. I'm on the talent side. So we have, as a promoter, producer, we have different departments. So we have a marketing department, a ticketing department, a production department, legal department, contracts. when we're built out to the size we are. And it starts with the buyer. So I identify working with different agents and managers in the industry and contacts of mine, relationships, first when an artist wants to tour, artist comes to us, or we approach the artist and we cook up what we call an offer. When that gets that offer stage, I work up the numbers, the financials, the budgets I get from the venues that we want to put this artist in. We decide where we think the artist can most appropriately sell the tickets. And then we put together, a traditional budget, which lists all the expenses and how much, how much we can pay the artist is obviously going to be dictated to how much we can charge for tickets. Right. So we cook up that offer, we find out how much we can pay, and we creatively put together that package, tie it up with a bow, we send it out, and then it becomes, who's got the best offer, who's got the most aggressive offer, who's got the best relationship with the artist, the agent, the manager, the talent team. And then it doesn't stop there. It's kind of like I always have said, it's artistry and the concert promoter side is not easy, because not only do you it's twofold. You got to fight to get the show and fight to get the tour, and then you got to fight to sell the tickets. Not everything is, roses and an easy sell. There's only a handful of acts out there that can sell with the snap of a finger. A lot of it is grinding and identifying, rolling up your sleeves, and then it comes in. When I buy the show and I confirm it, our marketing team and ticketing team touch it, put together an on sale, put together the proper launch. And there's a lot of players behind me and an important team behind me that will come into play to pull those levers and sell those tickets. So
So I see that you got a lot of comedians that you're booking, through the Icon portal. What I know you mentioned early on that you also are now going to be doing more recording artists. So what does that look like? What type of artists are you looking to put in the wheelhouse?
Yeah, look, I've got experience over the years in the pop and rock space and the mainstream commercial space, but you and I were talking offline earlier about globalization of music, and it's exciting to talk to be dipping into the international space. You're seeing countries, Asia is one of the priority territories right now for a lot of the promoters to be breaking into. Previous to the last set of years, really probably K-pop really kicked it off in a big way. But that territory, Japan, Thailand, even China now on the up, it's been hard for a lot of those artists to break out of there, not only for political reasons, but just the labels haven't really jumped on the bandwagon of the digital world and streaming or had access to those tools. And a lot of those acts just never had the resources to tour outside of their countries. Now they're coming in for the first, with streaming and with the ability to be able to access music from all corners of the world. Your fan bases are, easily grown. I don't say easily, but, more readily grown worldwide than they ever were before. First time you're seeing these artists from Japan, Thailand, China, Philippines come over to the States and sell real tickets, whether they're theaters, arenas, for the first time they've ever landed over here. It's amazing. And that's exciting to me. It just shows you the connectivity of the rest of the world, and Afro-pop space in Africa is coming over here in a big way. The Burna Boys, the Masegos, those are acts that are just crushing it, and again, it's testament to, the demand and it's just this huge desire for art, for consumption. People are looking for, more than just traditional pop. They want to hear the different corners of the world. They want to be able to experience and absorb these other music, pockets from around the world. It's just, that's exciting to me. So I'm focused on international artists. I think India is another territory right now. No secret, one of the most populated countries in the world. For years, they've got their parallel to Hollywood, their Bollywood. So movies they've conquered, but the music space is so important to the fabric, to the backbone to their movies, and culture on an everyday life, and music from the Indian artists is flooding over here like a big way too. So that excites me almost more than just traditional acts touring over here. Just being able to explore different parts of the world and be able to tour those acts and take them worldwide is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, thinking out the box, like if you're a U.S. artist and you're blowing up, like let's say you're blowing up in China, right? And a promoter from China calls you and he's like, hey, we want you to come and do a show. Like, you don't know anybody out there. You don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. You don't want to like end up on Locked Up Abroad. So how should you go about approaching?
Well, you should always start here. I mean, we always talk about, you want to organically grow you have to authentically and organically grow your fan base to where you stay true here. So it should start here. But, look, when you get to that level where you've conquered here, I think where you're based is where, you'll know when you're ready to go and tour abroad in a big way. But to your point, yeah, there's some artists that have blown up in other parts of the world. And if you have the resources financially to go and travel, listen, as you mentioned, you don't just want to travel over there
just rough it out. You know what I mean?
Run a show without any real network built yet. So I would encourage that if your streaming stats and you're getting all this love from one part of the world in particular, like, Eastern Europe, or in this case, as you mentioned, East Asia, travel over there, spend some time, meet some of the entertainment players, the local promoters, the hospitality guys, learn the cue. When you go over there, you really want to soak it in. And do it right. You've got to know culturally the cues.
Well, I mean, do your homework before you even go there. Like, see who the promoters are and all of that, and start to connect those dots so that when you go there, you can
let them guide you. Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, for example, in Japan, we talk about it's a territory that I've been riding on heavy and driving. A lot of talent out of. Physical sales and vinyl sales are really important. When an artist tours, it's important not just to come and dip in and perform one show and dip out. You really need to go there. If you want to do it right, you need to go there. You need to spend time. Because they're used to holding and touching their artists in Japan. If you're going to go over there, you want to do meet and greets. You want to do an album signing. And if you're smaller, spend some time just meeting your fans in local gatherings, doing community-based things. That's going to build you for the next time you come back. Probably not as important over here in the States because it's more transient and music's hitting so fast over here because we are that culture. It's just different, but that's not the same everywhere else.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Now, do you guys compare notes with other big concert companies like Live Nation? Or is everybody kind of like doing their own thing?
Not really. I mean, look, there's mediums like Billboard and Polestar and the trades where things get reported. Some companies report to those trades their finals, grosses and things like that from shows. But, largely it's healthy competition. We all know who's selling out there. It's no secret. So it becomes a competitive game. It's become highly competitive. But no, we don't talk like that. I mean, everybody knows each other in the industry, so it's a healthy competition, really.
Yeah. And I see you guys aren't doing any. Well, you tell me, like the nostalgia, the throwback artists, from the '80s, the '90s. I don't see a lot of that being on these arenas and theaters. Well,
I mean, I'm all about the nostalgia. I think on the contrary, I ride that pretty heavy. Case in point, Martin. That's being he's had that resurgence the last set of years because nostalgia of the 90s and early 2000s has been heating up from like none other.
Particularly something that I'm involved with. We got Jody Watley, Samantha Fox, Expose, Sapphire, Snap, Noel, 69 Boys, Janice Robinson, love her. She's amazing. Tony Moran, Lime. I interviewed Joy the other day. So what's your first impression with a concert like this that's going to be happening?
I think nostalgia is on fire right now. I think people want to relive their childhood. Also, it's generational, right? So, the 90s and 2000s right now, especially. I mean, I know this is a little earlier, but like the early 2000s, late 90s is just having that renaissance period because those people are now in their late 30s, early 40s, have disposable income and can might have kids out of college at this point that, or at least grown up where they can get out and spend money and go out with their friends. So I think it's I never ignore the nostalgia. I think this is where a big core of what's, of what people want to consume. Again, they want to go out and have a good time and listen to the hits. So that's, to me, that's a whole vertical right here. Not just the hit makers in current day, but focusing on who's, still around, and it's a healthy, that whole nostalgia column's healthy right now.
Absolutely. Are younger audiences buying tickets earlier, later, or waiting for social proof?
Listen, most venues do not have a location problem. They have an entertainment problem. The night feels slow. The music misses the crowd. The lighting feels way flat. The promotion is weak. The room has no clear identity. That's where Sama Entertainment Consulting comes in. I'm Felix Sama. We help nightclubs, lounges, restaurants, and venues turn slow nights into signature nights. We study the room. We identify the right audience. We build stronger theme nights. We bring in the right DJs, live bands, hosts, and entertainment. We improve the sound, lighting, visuals, music programming, marketing, promotions, and customer experience, because a great night is not one thing. It is the right mix of energy, strategy, talent, production, and promotion. When the room feels alive, people stay longer. They spend more. They come back, and they bring their friends. Sama Entertainment Consulting gives your venue a real entertainment strategy, not guesswork. If your venue has slow nights, empty dance floors, weak themes, or no reason for people to return, let's fix it. Book a venue strategy call today. Sama Entertainment Consulting. Let's pack your place.
I was thinking coming out of COVID, it was earlier because of that demand, that pump, that I just need to get out of the house, and realizing that everybody I got to get my ticket, that fever to just get. But now I think it's becoming later and later. The economy's tightening a bit in a lot of cases. You're seeing, you're hearing. People, a lot of conversations have, the blue dot fever everybody's bringing up of which I don't see as something that's new. I think that, just today, in today's day and age, artists are the consumer. The artists are vying for the consumer dollar, and it's competitive more than ever because things are so expensive. Tickets are more expensive than they've ever been. But that goes for food, that goes for gas, that goes for hotels.
Yeah, everything's up.
Travel.
Everything's up. Yeah, absolutely.
So the days of you being able to travel 3-4 times a year, you might only be able to travel once now for the year.
Yeah.
Days of you going to 4 or 5 shows a year, you might only pick that one, because listen, if you want to go see those top A-level artists, the Beyoncés, the Taylor Swifts, 2 tickets to that show, that's it. Most people can't afford anything past that. And you're going to go to that show before you're going to go to those B-level acts. So really for it's becoming more intentional as a concert promoter on our end, and it's about quality versus quantity. Again, pre-COVID, you could sling more. I could confirm more shows. And if it was an artist that toured every other year, didn't really put anything out of like real substance with new material, I knew that I still had an audience that would go and spend that. Hey, it's a night out. Now that night out, you don't need to do that anymore, because financially you're putting all your eggs in that basket of those 2 Beyonce tickets. And unfortunately, it's gotten to that point. Ticket prices have gotten higher than they ever have. Ticket service fees and charges, and but to that point, it also proves people are willing to pay. And they're willing to pay top dollar. And the other thing is, this is the generation we're living in now. The new generations, the younger generations, want that experiential generation. They want to pay for that good seat. They want to pay for that VIP experience. Mm-hmm. So, to that point, although you're seeing a lot of the B and C and D level artists suffering a lot on the road because it's becoming highly competitive for the consumer dollar, people will pay if they want to see you. And that's just rise above the cream of the crop. It's just what it is. It's the game right now. But
what type of artist is quietly making more money than people realize? Who's that? You know what I'm saying? That sneak artist that you wouldn't imagine is really turning over ticket sales.
I have to think about it in particular. I mean, comedy is one of those.
Rock era comedy. Which
I think comedy. I think comedy. I think you gave a good point. Active rock is crushing still. especially in middle America and places where radio is still prevalent. But I mean, active rock has had a resurgence in a big way. But I think comedy is one of those things where it's like, your voice is so easily heard through the phone. You can cut those content bits up, those quick hit 30-piece little content, funny videos. YouTubers and podcasters turn themselves into the craft of comedy just purely out of, their craft of talking and just their voice. And, you're seeing these guys become stand-up comics from that space that are touring out of the digital world, and it's amazing. I mean, I'm seeing digital artists that have never gotten their chops from day one as a stand-up comic tour and sell theaters and arenas out in some cases, just purely out of crowd work and really out of their funny content videos, and then obviously through time they learn they need to dice up. If they don't perfect that craft, longevity becomes an issue. Because audience will catch on and be like, yeah, you're funny, your videos are funny, but I go see you live and there's not really a good hour there. So you've got to actually put the discipline in to fine tune your craft like anything.
Yeah. So you talked about podcasters. What about DJs? DJs took over ultra and festival culture. Why haven't more DJs taken over arenas in America?
They have. I think the dance space, it's booming like it ever has. If anything, it's actually gotten bigger and bigger, and it hasn't slowed down. House today had that resurgence. It was initially commercial, big beat, big general commercial house. Now deep house and techno has made this huge resurgence, which was, big 30, 40 years ago. Now the younger kids are exploring that and digging deeper into those catalogs. So electronics diversified in such a big way now and reached in so many ways. They just, unfortunately, I think dance music hasn't had to traditionally tour because the money's in other areas, whether it's brand endorsement deals, whether it's nightclub residencies. There's a lot of money in other areas where they don't have to live and breathe by the traditional touring pillars of going. And, I think audiences also don't necessarily want to see an act, the dance artists, the electronic artists, in a traditional arena sitting down. It's all about that energy. So a lot of times you'll see them less traditionally tour, do the festival circuit, do warehouses, create their own branded events.
Yeah, the setting has to be right. Yeah, the setting
has to be right for that space to sell.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I have a vision for a DJ type of show, but it's different because it's got different elements in it. It's got live singers, it's got session players, it's got an LED screen, it's got characters. So you know what I'm saying? It's more of an arena setting of what I would do and present, which I'm working on, and we'll talk about that another time. But thank you for that insight with the DJs. That's a good observation, man. What do you think the future of the concert space is going? Do you think that the comedy thing is really going to have even more of a surge, or do you think that there's a new emerging artist? And let's talk a little bit about maybe later on down the road, is there a possibility that, some of these AI songs that are so popular on social platforms, will there be an AI robot performing these songs in these arenas and people will come out to see that? Where do you think we're headed?
Yeah. Well, we talked about globalization of music. I think that's going to continue. Parts of the world that you haven't heard music from, will drive the ship. K-pop is now, who would have thought Korean pop artists were synonymous now in the charts? Rosé's the face of YSL, a Blackpink, Korean artist here in the States. So whether it's Japan, as we talked about earlier, India, South America, and Brazil is booming with the talent coming out of there. Nigeria and the Afro pop space.
Yeah.
That right there, that is just going to continue compounding like it always has. And accessibility. Yes, to your point, AIs cannot be ignored. Hologram shows are already happening. The Whitney Houston estate did one. The Ronnie Dio estate did one. Ronnie James Dio estate did one. It's entertainment at the end of the day. And, no different than you watching a movie. It's on the screen, it's still entertainment. And so, watching, whether it's a hologram or a robot, and, whether it's, whether it's a real person singing that song and you're hearing some of the first AI artists ever hit the charts. It's scary. It's broaching onto real what we're used to, which is the real people singing and real people performing. But at the end of the day, it can't be ignored. So that you got to collaborate with this. You got to be able to work with it. I don't think in our lifetime we're going to see it replace, but more so with time, integrate. And again, producers should be embracing it, should be building it in and working with it. You know, I've always had this fun conversation, even on the film side. I'm like, man, like, are dead artists going to be introduced more and more to films? And how does that get received? You know, and artists that are living using their likeness, which we see in commercials today, well, they didn't even act in the commercial. It's an AI version of themselves, which I don't, look, do I appreciate it as much? No, I'm because we came from that generation, it's hard to, right? We want that connectivity, but the next generations will grow up on it and they'll learn that this is just another alternative form of entertainment. It's not something, it was fabricated. That's it. Yeah. But it was created. Hopefully it all draws back though to someone created it. Someone made it, it didn't just spawn. There's a producer behind it, and maybe that producer gets credit. So there's still a way to, again, embrace it and keep connected to these things. And that's
I see, obviously more integration with AI technology. The people are producing music. I'm using Suno. I'm, using it in the creative ways to come up with ideas, and then I replay everything so that Suno doesn't own any of my work. But there's man, you got to embrace technology, right, bro? And I think that there's cool ways that it can be introduced into an arena setting. You know what I mean? Whether you're battling with an AI and you're doing a versus, whatever the case may be, but there's entertaining ways that you can get real creative with the shit. What's the best arena in your mind that you guys have that artists really love to perform in?
Bring something new to the freaking table. You know what I mean? Like, really do your homework. Figure out what's going to separate you from the rest of the DJs that are out there. Find your niche, you know what I'm saying? And hone in on that. Do your homework, practice. You got to bring something new to the table. If you're just going to wait for the break part of a song and mix out of it, that shit ain't going to get you to the next level. I'm sorry, but it's not. You got to be unique. Produce your own music. Do your own mashups. You know what I mean? Find something original that you bring, even if it's from other songs and elements that already exist, but put your spin on it. You know what I mean? Find something that you can do that's going to separate you from the herd. That's the advice I would give to DJs that are on the come up right now. It doesn't matter if you're from Seattle or India. You know what I mean? If you're doing something different and people are gravitating to you on social media, then that means that promoters are going to notice you as well. And that means that you're probably going to get a phone call at some point in time, or you need to do your research and push your performances to these promoters and tell them, look, this is what I'm doing. I think it'll work at your venue. You got to sell yourself, bro.
Man, I mean, well, Icon, we don't own any venues. I have my own personal favorites, but like I just go where the artist belongs and where, I look at when I produce a show, it's all about, or a tour, and I start plotting out which markets and which venues. I go where the right venues, the right markets, where they're going to sell. So, sometimes it's a club, sometimes it's a prettier performing arts center, proper, theater setting. Sometimes that grittier, seated theater setting for a comedian who wants that grittier kind of raw feel. So it's all about the slotting them in the right vibe.
Yeah, where the fan base is going to be there to support the performance. Obviously, that's one of the most important factors. Have you ever had a show where everything just went wrong, but the audience never knew?
Yeah. I mean, because it's what happens behind the scenes. We keep the train rolling. A lot of times that's not going to affect the show from continuing on, unless the power goes out completely. You hope those kind of disasters don't happen, or, there's an actual, God forbid, a disaster on stage. The train, usually there's so many moving parts. It's hard to derail that. So
people getting sick, all kinds of stuff. You got to pull through, man. You got to pull through. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Give me a 5-step growth path for an artist who wants to go from local to national.
Well, music. So put out as much music as possible. That's it. Content's king. Talked about that earlier at length. Big piece of it all. So constantly cutting 30-second, 15-second, minute-long videos of your music, of your everyday life, letting people in to hear you. Live music, live touring, getting out there and performing live, merchandising and getting little stickers, things like that, just everywhere. 'Cause eyeballs need to be on you constantly. And I mean, the obvious one is your network. You know, through all of these things, great, but community and building touch points, always being out there in the community with businesses, venues, promoters, hospitality people, restaurants, bars. You want, when you're performing a show locally, you go to that town, whether it's 20 minutes away from you or 5 hours away from you, you want everybody talking about you. Become friends with the bar owners, become friends. They're going to put your flyers up. They're going to support you. Right. They're going to drive business to you.
Yeah, very cool. So a couple of quick fire questions, and then we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. So just the quick answers. Kendrick Lamar or Drake when it comes to booking an act and selling tickets? Who sells the most tickets?
They both do. I couldn't say one or the other. They both have they're both the top of their game.
Yeah. All right, you're trying to play it safe with me. Come on now, Jesse. Who gets a better crowd reaction, Dougie Fresh or Slick Rick?
Fresh.
Dougie Fresh, okay. If you could bring one male recording artist back to life for a world tour, who would that be?
Man, Michael Jackson.
Why did I know you were going to? Is it because you just saw the movie?
No. It came up. My former bosses had the last tour. It was going to happen. Obviously it was all no. So
yeah,
can't discount that.
All right. How about female artists? Who would you bring back to life for a world tour?
Female artist. I mean, I feel like she never got a chance, but so much promising talent. Even today was just short-lived. Amy Winehouse.
I would have never guessed you say that.
Yeah.
I thought you would go with Whitney.
The impact she's made. It's incredible on such a short life. You know?
Yeah.
And,
I saw that
and where she would have gone, I would have loved to see that, you know?
Yeah, I saw that story, man. I was like, wow, this girl really had a rough life, man. She went through it. She definitely went through it. Beyonce or Taylor Swift, who has the stronger live touring machine?
Oh, Taylor. I mean, nobody's bigger than Taylor. Taylor could be the president of the country right now.
I thought she was.
Right?
Did she just get married to this guy?
I don't know. Did the wedding happen? I guess it did. Did it? I don't know.
I think so. They said it was like a 3-day wedding or something like that. Bad Bunny or The Weeknd, who feels more global right now?
Bad Bunny. I mean, that's just where it's coming from, man. The Latin space, he's conquered it. The Super Bowl with his messaging and all of that, it's unmatched.
Yeah, I agree. Bruno Mars or Justin Timberlake, who's going to fill up the seats faster?
Bruno's having the moment right now. His performanceship just shows. He's constantly putting out the music, even behind the scenes. He came back in this force with this new stuff, and he's a performer at heart. So people see that. He's built he's built a career off of performanceship. Every time I hear someone go to the show, the first thing they say is, "What an incredible show! What an incredible performer!"
Yeah,
that's how he built his reputation.
He's a showman. He's a showman, hands down. I saw him do some stuff for football. Soccer these last couple of weeks, and the boys, he's still on point, man. He really is. Who's harder to book right now, the artist with one monster hit or the legacy act with 30 years of fans?
It's all it's all competitive, man. It's a game out there. It's always going to be competitive. I would say the monster hits, all pop acts are always going to be hard because people want to naturally clamber to that. But yeah.
Hey, listen, brother. I want to thank you wholeheartedly for taking on this interview on the Felix Sama Podcast. You know how much I respect you. I appreciate you, and I'm very grateful that you've been able to do this for the show. We really want to talk about the business of music, and you've enlightened a lot of people out there that are looking for direction. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate you too, brother. Thanks for having me here.
Okay, man.